On our 10th wedding anniversary, I received a terminal cancer diagnosis from the hospital. Just as I secured a hospital bed and finalized my chemotherapy plan, the hospital informed me that everything had been cancelled by my wife's male assistant. Furious, I called to demand an explanation, but my wife answered instead, her tone impatient on the other end. Who allowed you to get chemotherapy? Don't you know cancer is incurable? The company doesn't have that kind of money for you to squander. If Leo hadn't cancelled, you'd have spent every last cent, and you still didn't even thank him. Before I could respond, the call ended abruptly. That evening, her assistant updated his Instagram with a Paris geotag, posting a selfie captioned, "Boss says I'm the MVP, took me to see the Eiffel Tower in Paris and rewarded me with a Porsche. So romantic, I must be the luckiest boy in the world." My wife didn't message me until noon the next day. We've been together for 10 years. You know cancer is a bottomless pit. With little time left, you wouldn't want to drag me down with you, would you? Let's divorce. You keep our daughter. Set me free. It all happened so fast, I hadn't even had the chance to tell her. The name on the diagnosis wasn't mine, it was hers. At the end of the year, my wife and I went for our routine physical checkup like always. When I saw the words terminal cancer, the glass in my hand slipped and shattered on the floor. After 10 minutes spent steadying my emotions, I drove to the hospital with trembling hands. A complete cure isn't impossible, but the cost of chemotherapy plus medication, it'll be a bottomless pit. Though the doctor said this, I quickly calculated our household savings and, clenching my fists, spoke without hesitation. We must treat her, even if it bankrupts us. My wife and I have supported each other for 10 years, and she gave me our lovely daughter. Even if there's just a sliver of hope, I could never give up. The doctor patted me on the shoulder. You're a good husband. Don't give up, there's still hope. As I left, passing by listless patients, their eyes followed me with envy. How lucky his wife is to have a husband who won't give up on her. What a fortunate fate, who wouldn't want to live one more day? I quickly found a medical broker at the hospital entrance to secure a bed. After paying $20,000 in hospitalization fees, I ran out of cash on hand. At home, my wife has always handled finances, and the company account is also under her name. Afraid she might worry, I went ahead and paid for the medication and chemotherapy treatments from the company account without telling her first. As I was leaving, I reminded the nurse, "Please use only the best for my wife, better medicine means fewer side effects." After finishing all of this, I finally slowed down and sat on the hospital hallway chairs. Unlocking my phone, I looked at the happy smiling faces of my wife and daughter, feeling a sudden pang in my heart. I had no idea how to break the news to them, but I knew all too well that illness strikes like a collapsing mountain and medical bills wait for no one. I opened my contacts and called my lawyer, Mr. Smith. Help me prepare to sell my company shares and liquidate the warehouse inventory. Convert everything to cash. The lawyer on the other end seemed stunned. Boss, what's going on? Jessica has late-stage cancer. The company can wait, but a life can't. He sighed and immediately went to handle it for me. My wife and I had struggled together for nearly a decade, and several investment properties I'd bought at low prices had nearly doubled in value by now. Thinking this, I gritted my teeth and walked back into the real estate agency, putting up for sale several good location properties from home. Calculating the amount I could scrape together, then recalling the vague figure the doctor had mentioned, I battled internally for a few seconds before finally calling my mom. "Mom, can you lend me $1 million? My parents froze for a moment, but when they learned my wife had cancer, they were startled but agreed immediately. I didn't expect them to help me without hesitation, and tears welled up in my eyes. Mom comforted me, saying, "Don't worry, son. We still have $2 million in retirement savings. A human life is incomparable to money. Don't cry. It's too late now, the bank is closed. Your father and I will transfer the money to you first thing tomorrow morning." My eyes instantly welled up. "Thanks, Mom. I'll pay you back for sure." But right before hanging up, Mom paused for a few seconds and finally added, "Not that I'm overthinking, son, but you haven't told Jessica about this yet, have you?" I stared blankly and said, "No, why do you ask?" "Then when you're raising money, don't mention it's her who has cancer, just say it's you. Let's see if she gets as frantic about it as you do." Hearing my mother's words, I grew agitated. "Mom, how could you think that of Jessica? We've been together for 10 years. Even if it were me who got sick, she'd definitely spend every last penny to save me." All right, Mom was overthinking things. "Don't be angry," she said before hanging up. I was annoyed, but anxiety still gnawed at my heart. That heavy weight in my chest had me running around in circles all afternoon. I'd actually forgotten to pick up my daughter. It was Daisy, her kindergarten teacher, who reached out. After work, she went out of her way to bring my little girl to me at the hospital. When I saw my daughter's innocent face, I couldn't stop my eyes from welling up. My daughter has been sensible and clever since childhood. Though only 5 years old, she immediately surmised something was wrong when she saw me at the hospital. "Daddy, are you sick?" There was no need to hide it from her. Fighting back tears, I patted her head. "Not me. Mommy is sick, but will definitely make her better. After hearing this, she froze. Dolly lowered her head in silence for half a second before rummaging through her school bag for what felt like forever. He actually pulled out his cherished little piggy bank that he'd been treasuring for so long and smashed it violently to the ground. Out burst a shower of red banknotes. Dolly, eyes red, hugged me tightly. Though she'd already cried herself into a tear-streaked mess, she kept trying to comfort me while wiping away my tears. Daddy, don't cry. I have money too, let's get mommy treated together. I could no longer hold back. Tears cascaded down like an unbroken waterfall. We're not going to give up on Jessica. In the afternoon, the agent sent good news. Hey man, someone's interested in the house. I'll take them to view it first. I joyfully agreed and even reminded him, the price is negotiable. The most important thing is to sell it quickly. After taking my daughter home, I prepared to rush to the company to sort out the finances. Halfway through driving, I received a call. It was from a nurse at the hospital. Sir, the chemotherapy treatment and hospital bed you booked for today have been cancelled. The car screeched to a halt at the roadside as I asked, furious and anxious, how is that possible? Who cancelled it? There was a pause on the other end. My name is Leo, your wife's assistant. My mind went completely blank. Leo? I took a deep breath, my face turning pale. I knew him. A freshly graduated college student this year, young and naive. I had made the payment using my wife's account. Naturally, her assistant could cancel this transaction. How could he cross the line like this? Suppressing my anger, I found the number in my contacts and called. The call was quickly answered, but the voice surprised me. It was Jessica. Hello? What do you want? I froze for a second, gathering my words. Jessica, the hospital told me. Before I could finish, she suddenly got angry. Ethan, how could you not tell me you have cancer when the test results came out? You just went ahead and booked a hospital bed without saying anything. Listening to her angry yet distressed voice, my heart softened slightly. So she was worried about me after all. Darling, I didn't mean to. Before I could explain, she urgently spoke up again on the other end. Do you know what terminal stage cancer means? It means there's no saving you. I froze in the car seat. Yet the voice kept rattling on. Chemotherapy, hospital beds, it's all a bottomless money pit. How much company funds do you think you can squander? If Leo hadn't noticed the deductions and helped cancel them, who knows how much more we would have lost. Did you even thank them properly? Jessica's words left me stunned, rooted to the spot. My heart instantly turned to ice. So she'd misunderstood. She thought I was the one with cancer. Biting back the heartache, remembering all our years of friendship, I finally spoke slowly. Even though it's terminal, the doctors said treatment is still possible. You can't. Leo interrupted me with a sarcastic remark. What possible treatment is there, bro? You can't expect to burden our boss with your illness. If it were me, I'd have the sense to keep it to myself and not trouble the boss. My wife snapped impatiently in reply. If Leo hadn't canceled the payment, who knows how much money your illness would have cost the company? Ethan, you're being way too selfish. Take a good look at yourself. When you figured it out, don't forget to thank Leo properly. Click. The other end hung up the phone. I clutched my phone, sitting frozen in the driver's seat, staring at my pale reflection in the rearview mirror. The car window slowly rolled down as a sudden storm raged outside, a cold gust sweeping across my face where tear streaks still glistened faintly. My heart had already grown cold inside. Back home, my daughter suddenly grabbed my hand and whispered, Daddy, Uncle Leo came by during the day. He said he wanted to take Mommy's personal belongings and wouldn't be back tonight. My fists clenched tightly. He actually came to our house. My daughter lowered her head. I know this uncle. When Mommy took me to school, this uncle was there too. He even forced me to call him Daddy. I didn't make a sound, but he still pinched me in secret. Tears quickly welled up in my daughter's eyes. I told Mom, but she didn't believe me. She even scolded me for being a liar. The more I heard, the angrier I grew. My heart ached for Jessica. Normally I handle nearly all company affairs myself, leaving early every morning for meetings, so I'd entrusted her with taking our daughter to school. Never did I imagine she'd let Leo bully Dolly like this. I couldn't take it anymore and slammed the accelerator, speeding straight to the office. Barged into Jessica's office, grabbed Leo who was making coffee, and kicked him hard. Ah! Leo tumbled awkwardly to the ground, his eyes instantly reddening. Ethan, have you lost your mind? What the hell are you doing? It's just not letting you do chemotherapy. What's the point when you're already dying anyway? Jessica's heart ached as her brows furrowed tightly, rushing over immediately to shield him. Upon seeing my daughter behind me, her expression instantly darkened. Dolly, did you tell Dad that Leo was bullying you? I've told you countless times not to lie. You little liar. Mom doesn't want you anymore. Dolly's eyes instantly reddened. Just as Jessica's expression began to soften slightly, Leo suddenly cried out in pain. Her heart ached immediately. She grabbed her daughter roughly and raised her hand to strike her. Come here. I'm going to teach you a proper lesson today. I immediately snatched my daughter back into my arms, with Dolly burying her tearful face against my chest, crying loudly. Witnessing this scene before me, my heart twisted painfully. I couldn't take it anymore. Enough. Let go. I originally intended to leave directly, but then I remembered her cancer diagnosis. The doctors had warned that those who are ill might experience drastic mood swings. Thinking back on these 10 years, my footsteps still hesitate with a softening heart. Just let her have her way a bit more. After all, she's still the mother of our child. Just as I was about to speak the truth, my mother's words echoed in my mind. Could you give everything to save her? Would she do the same for you? I hesitated. 10 years have passed, and I still love Jessica as much as ever. What about her? If it were me with cancer, would she sacrifice everything for me too? In the end, I didn't reveal who had cancer, just calmly explained to her. Jessica, you know cancer waits for no one, hospital beds are scarce, all our money is with you. Stop blocking the company account, that hospital is hard to get into. I pulled so many strings to secure a bed. It's better to settle early so we can start treatment as soon as possible. Ethan, are you deaf or something? Jessica actually scowled and swore at me. You barged in today and hit Leo without even asking why, and you still haven't apologized to him. Apologize now. I laughed angrily. So if I don't apologize, we can't secure the hospital bed, is that it? Jessica's face turned completely cold as she spoke with righteous indignation. Since that's your attitude, then let's not make any arrangements. Cancer is already a bottomless pit, why waste money on it? After some time, I'll take you back to the countryside. There's an herbal doctor there. If the pain gets unbearable, you can just go see him instead. Don't waste money on these unnecessary things. The company is at a critical growth stage. How can you casually divert funds like this? I wanted to say more, but she cut me off. Enough. Take Dolly home now, and don't disturb my work. That night, after struggling with myself for hours, I finally decided to wait for Jessica's return and confess everything to her. After all, it's cancer, whether marital affection still exists between us or not. I still didn't want her to miss the optimal treatment window, but after I put our daughter to bed, I sat alone in the living room all night long, and she never came home. I made dozens of calls, calling until 3 a.m., only to find she'd blocked me. It wasn't until noon the next day that I discovered her assistant Leo had updated his Instagram. Leo posted 9 couple photos with Jessica, accompanied by a sweet caption. My boss rewarded me for working hard by taking me to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower. So romantic. She even gave me a Porsche. I must be the luckiest boy in the world. Turns out Jessica stayed out all night because she took Leo to Paris. Looking at Leo's first-class cabin selfie in the photos, the pictures under the tower, and the luxury shopping bag slung over his shoulder and dangling from his hands, my vision went dark. Jessica was complaining about financial difficulties during the day, yet by evening, Leo was showing off designer bags, luxury watches, and even sneakers worth thousands of dollars. But last month, when Dolly wanted to visit the long-dreamed-about Disneyland for her birthday, Jessica angrily scolded her for wasting money. Later, I secretly took Dolly to Disneyland on her birthday and even bought her a new dress. After returning home, Jessica made Dolly cry with her harsh words. Somehow, Dolly found out about all this. When the child came home from school in the afternoon, his eyes darkened, and he silently retreated to his room. Just as I was about to console him, I suddenly received an unexpected call. It was from my mother-in-law and father-in-law. Ethan, we heard you have cancer? Before I could speak, their voices choked up on the other end. Oh Ethan, poor child, why is fate so cruel? I was beginning to soften and think of offering comfort, but their tone abruptly changed. We know you're pitiful, but you're aware too cancer is a money-burning bottomless pit, and our Jessica is still young. Could you bear to drag her down for the rest of her life like this? I stood frozen. Were they trying to persuade us to divorce? I couldn't believe these were actually my wife's parents. Back when my mother-in-law developed a brain tumor, I was the only one running around the hospital, tending to her day and night for a full 6 months, both spending money and exerting effort, while her own daughter made excuses about being too busy with work and never once came to see her. 6 months ago, when my father-in-law's diabetes took a serious turn, again, I was the one doing all the nursing, wiping shit and piss, and it cost nearly $200,000 just to get the 2 elderly back on their feet. But now, my heart sank as I asked them, did Jessica tell you this? There was silence on the other end. After a long pause, my mother-in-law spoke. So what if she did? I've made up my mind. You must divorce my daughter. A dying person shouldn't drag another down with them. These years, we'll split our properties 50-50. The daughter stays with you, our family won't raise dead weight. I slammed the phone down furiously and began frantically calling Jessica. I just wanted to know what she was thinking, but every call I made was immediately hung up. After calling all night, I was actually blocked. She who hadn't appeared all day only sent one message in the evening. Darling, I've thought about it for a long time. In the end, I think we should get a divorce. We've been together for 10 years. You wouldn't want me to face life without you all alone, would you? Take our daughter with you too. Anything or anyone tied to you will only reopen old wounds. I trust you'll understand me, won't you? Since you're leaving anyway, at least set me free. What a speech, painting yourself in such a devoted light. I stared intently at the screen, closed my eyes for a long while, then finally sent the message, "Are you sure about this?" "MHM. The reply came almost instantly. I laughed aloud, then called my daughter over and asked, "If Mom and I get divorced, would you be willing to live with Daddy?" Without hesitation, my daughter hugged me tightly. "I do." I no longer hesitated and replied with a few words, "See you at City Hall first thing tomorrow morning." When Jessica arrived at City Hall, she brought along a radiant Leo. Neither of them had returned home all night, and there were even faintly concealed love bites on her neck. But I no longer cared. Leo went out of his way to park the car for me. As I took the keys, I noticed the lover's ring on his ring finger. Jessica indeed had one on her right hand too. Couldn't wait any longer, could you? Noticing my gaze, Leo affectionately put his arm around Jessica and said to me with a smile, "Brother Ethan, when you're no longer here, I'll take good care of the chairman. Every morning's coffee and evening's milk she drinks are brewed by my own hands. She can't get used to anyone else's way of making them." Jessica's gaze wavered slightly, but I smiled and said, "Sure, you'll have to trouble yourself then." She didn't expect me to be so candid. Her face darkened slightly as she couldn't help but speak out. "Ethan, once you walk in today, there's no turning back." I looked at her. "Even if I regret it, can we not divorce? Would you be willing to pay for my treatment?" Her expression changed instantly. "Impossible. Attorney Smith told me you're planning to sell the house and car. If we don't divorce, you'll bankrupt the company's cash flow. It's just cancer. Others got it too, but I never saw anyone make such a big fuss about it. How bad could the pain be?" "Yeah, how bad could it be?" I didn't say anything, just lowered my head and sold the hospital room I'd fought so hard to get to a medical broker. The reply came instantly, "Thanks, bro. This is literally a life or death opportunity." The other side agreed to bump up the payment. Sitting across from the staff member ready to file for divorce, Jessica said generously, "You'll get an extra 10% of the assets since you're taking the child." I laughed mockingly. "I founded the company. Since you're the one initiating the divorce, we'll split the cash equally. I keep 2 apartments, you get 1, and the car goes to you." "Ha," she scoffed coldly, "even on death's door, you're still money obsessed. Good thing Leo convinced me to divorce you, or I'd have been bankrupted by you." She still wanted to argue, but Leo held her tightly and whispered, "Just agree, boss. Be careful, if this bottomless pit changes his mind later and refuses to divorce, he might cling to you." He pouted. "What if he backs out? What am I supposed to do then?" Jessica's expression darkened instantly. "Fine, sign it. But I'm telling you clearly, even if you're at death's door in the future, don't come begging to me. I won't give you or our daughter another cent. Even if Dory ends up homeless on the streets someday, that's between you father and daughter. Don't expect any help from me." Her words were merciless. Dory stood silently to the side, head bowed, where a small puddle had already formed on the ground. I also sneered at her. "Does that go for you too? No connection between us no matter what happens." Of course, she signed without lifting her head. The 1-month cooling-off period passed in a blink. When we met again, Jessica's face showed traces of weariness. During this time, she had been traveling around the world with Leo, shopping. Meanwhile, I was busy handling all the division of property and stocks. Now all of it has been converted to cash. After getting the divorce certificate, I'm ready to move to another city with my daughter. When registering the divorce, the staff confirmed again, "No changes to your decision?" My wife's phone suddenly rang, and when I saw the number, it looked all too familiar. It was from the hospital. The call must have been a doctor following up with a patient. Jessica glanced at the unfamiliar number but didn't answer, telling the clerk, "I don't regret it." "Neither do I," she said as the divorce certificate was placed in her hand, declaring we were no longer connected. As I walked away holding our daughter's hand, her phone rang again. This time, she answered without hesitation, "Hello, what did you say? Who has terminal cancer?" I pulled open the car door, only to hear Jessica's panicked screams behind me. "Ethan, stop. Don't leave yet." Doria tightened her grip on my hand. I ignored them. After opening the passenger door to let my daughter in, I watched through the rearview mirror as Jessica came running toward me in frantic haste. I stepped on the gas and sped away. After returning home, I also received a call from the hospital. The doctor on the other end sounded puzzled. "Mr. Clark, we called today to check on your wife, but it seems she wasn't aware of this." It turned out the call was from a nurse. According to the schedule, she should have undergone chemotherapy a month ago, so this was just a routine checkup call. They asked how Jessica was feeling and mentioned it was time for her follow-up examination. And where was I treated this past month? After all, the physical therapy I had scheduled was cancelled. Jessica thought the hospital was asking about my condition and snapped back irritably. "Ask him yourself, he's my ex-husband now, who cares about him?" Then she hung up. As I stared at the bright red divorce certificate in my hand, I considered sending a message to my former in-laws to inform them, as my final act of conscience. The message was sent, but it showed as failed to deliver. How laughable. I've been blocked. Before blocking me, my ex-mother-in-law sent one final message, a notice. "Since you've taken so much money from my daughter, don't bother asking for childcare support these 2 years. Heartless bastard, I hope you fall gravely ill soon." I turned off the screen, looked at the savings in my phone, and gently patted my daughter's head. "Dolly, would you like to move to a different city?" A month later, I relocated with my daughter to a new city. The first thing I did after settling into the newly purchased house with a small garden was take my daughter to Disneyland, fulfilling her long-held wish. Though our mutual friends never fully understood what happened between us, yet they still gritted their teeth while telling me about Jessica's recent situation. Perhaps to show off, Leo didn't delete my contact information. His Instagram updates daily. Today Jessica gave him a watch worth $50,000. The next day, he was gifted a Mercedes-Benz, and the following week, he was flown abroad for shopping and travel. Soon, he began carrying himself around the company as if he were the junior boss. In the first month after the divorce, Leo posted on Instagram, "Finally, a rightful ending with the woman I love." A set of photos showed off the engagement ring. It turned out they were engaged. Jessica's parents were there too, and the whole group made a grand spectacle of the engagement banquet. Ethan's parents from the countryside also rushed over, bringing along a large group of relatives to freeload on the feast. Everyone clung to Jessica, knowing she'd inherited half of the company. With money, naturally everyone around her flattered her to get her to spend on them. My friends sighed as they told me, "Jessica is so foolish. She chased away the one who treated her best, yet she never even realized it. Not a single person around her genuinely loves her. They're all just after her money. Ever since you sold your company shares, the business has been on the decline. All the old clients are gone, and to be blunt, this company won't last much longer with her reckless spending." I watched as my friend showed me her recent photos. In every single one, people were smiling broadly with their arms around Jessica. Yet no one noticed her increasingly pale face. Leo kept boasting about his new car purchase, viewed new homes, shopped for furniture, and planned to marry the following month. He even finalized the diamond ring selection, and Jessica had chosen her wedding gown. Her parents even posted the gold jewelry their daughter bought for them. Her ex-father-in-law asked Jessica to buy him a new car, while Leo's parents demanded a full set of jewelry. The whole family was sucking her blood alone. I even received photos Jessica's mother specially sent me. They were photos of Jessica and Leo dressed in wedding attire. "Since leaving you, my daughter's complexion has improved. Clearly you were the sickly one. We should have divorced sooner." She waited smugly for me to lose my composure, but I immediately blocked and deleted her. No reply. Surprisingly, it was Jessica who couldn't hold back, sending a message at midnight that same day, "I'm getting married. Will you come to the wedding?" "No need. We're done. Please don't disturb me anymore." On the other end, Jessica seemed unable to save face, immediately calling back, and said coldly, "Ethan, I was actually thinking of visiting you since you're seriously ill, but I guess that's unnecessary now." "You know what? Leo is much more considerate than you. He's younger and treats me better." I replied with a smile, "Yes, no need. Wishing you a happy wedding." Jessica fell silent and hung up the phone in frustration. Perhaps it was intentional, but Leo quickly updated his Instagram again, a photo dripping with showing off. In the picture, Jessica was at that Italian restaurant where we first had our date, giving Leo the watch I had longed for. Suddenly I felt completely disheartened, and with a raised hand, I also blocked Leo. During this period, I transferred my daughter to a new kindergarten, never expecting to encounter Teacher Daisy again. She had also changed jobs and happened to come to this city. Teacher Daisy was very attentive and took great care of my daughter. This way, I also have more time to focus on my career. I started a new company again, only to hear a lot of industry gossip. It turns out that the company Jessica and I founded quickly went downhill after I left, with Leo recklessly calling the shots, and neither Jessica's parents nor Leo being easy to deal with. Every day, these people misuse public funds under the guise of official expenses, embezzling money everywhere, buying cars, houses, jewelry, and accessories. It led the company straight to bankruptcy. Jessica had no choice but to hold her breath and handle the company's affairs. In the end, there was only $200,000 left in readily available cash. She had originally planned to make a comeback, but Leo sweet-talked her into trying another business venture later, suggesting she hold on to the money for now. Soon, the two began traveling the world, living it up wherever they went. I still occasionally receive calls from the hospital. The doctor asked me, "How is the patient doing now?" I paused for a second before refusing them one last time. "Don't call me again from now on. We're divorced. If there's anything, you should contact her directly." I thought that upon learning about her condition, Jessica would at least check into the hospital immediately. But I never expected to receive her text, "The hospital said the one with cancer is me?" Ethan, do you really find this kind of game amusing? With someone on the verge of death, do you still expect me to feel regret? I let out 2 cold laughs, did not reply. Since you don't believe it yourself, why should I say more? A week later, a mutual friend suddenly called me. Ethan, do you know what happened? Jessica fainted at her wedding ceremony with Leo. On the wedding day, Jessica suddenly started bleeding from her nose while standing at the altar. In less than 2 minutes, the entire person toppled off the stage, losing consciousness. After being rushed to the hospital for scans, I finally learned that the cancer cells in my body had spread to a critical extent. If it was a mid-stage before, now it has been dragged into the late stage. Jessica woke up, pale-faced, sitting by the hospital bedside. Leo and his parents had long since vanished without a trace, while she stared at her own parents sitting not far away, their faces deathly pale. The first thing she did upon seeing her daughter wake up was to scold her. Jessica, why didn't you tell us it was you who had cancer? Jessica was stunned by her mother's sudden outburst of anger. A bitter taste rose in her throat as she suddenly recalled all that she had done, selling the house, the car, the stocks. Her head jerked up, her eyes filled with shocked regret. How could that be? So that's what Ethan was doing back then. Ignoring her parents' hysterical protests, she called the real estate agent I'd previously contacted. Summoning her courage, she asked, "Half a year ago, my husband Ethan suddenly started selling our house. Do you happen to know why?" The agent sounded surprised. Mr. Ethan said his wife had cancer and needed money for treatment. He wanted to liquidate all his properties for cash, even decided to rent a place first, just to make sure his wife got proper care. "Madam, have you been feeling better recently?" The voice on the other end asked cautiously, but Jessica had already hung up the phone in a daze. She sat blankly in the hospital room, then made another call to the lawyer who used to work for the company. After a long silence, the lawyer sighed and said, "Your husband was determined to sell the thriving company back then, saying he absolutely had to cure you. But later you got divorced, and the shares and property allocated to your husband, he's already sold them all off." Jessica couldn't believe any of this. Lying in her hospital bed, she utterly broke down in tears. After reaching out to quite a few acquaintances, she finally got in touch with my friend, who responded, "Sis, back when Ethan found out you had cancer, he was willing to go bankrupt just to cure you. He even took $1 million from his parents and asked all us friends for help. He said you could borrow money anytime it wasn't enough, and he'd pay it back even if it killed him." Jessica's face turned completely pale upon hearing this. The voice on the other end continued, "Do you know how many people in the hospital envy your good fortune? How could you just divorce him like that? On the very first day Ethan found out about your illness, he went to the hospital and pulled strings to secure a bed for you. Do you know how hard it was to get that hospital admission? He even scheduled chemotherapy sessions, all of which were later cancelled by that assistant of yours." Jessica's pupils constricted. "So, that was meant for me." She wanted to say more, but the call was disconnected on the other end. Her voice failed her completely. Staring at the terminal cancer diagnosis before her eyes, panic finally set in. The hospital where I once secured an appointment, she could no longer obtain a slot there, forced to settle momentarily in a second-tier institution. When it came time to pay the bill, she discovered that her last $200,000 had been transferred by her assistant, Leo. "Leo, give me back my money." Jessica searched the entire city before finally finding him, but Leo stubbornly refused to return the money. Jessica broke down, staring at him in disbelief with reddened eyes. "We're about to get married. Could you bear to watch me die?" Little Leo crossed his arms and sneered, still spouting the same old excuses. "Cancer is a bottomless pit. And you know my family is from the countryside. Several younger siblings still aren't in school. But didn't you promise to help support them? I've already given that money for their education. When they grow up and start working, they'll support you in return. What a bargain, right?" Jessica's chest burned with rage. She screamed, her voice tearing from despair. "What use is it now that I'm dying?" Leo glared at her as she lunged forward, pushing her away in disgust. "Who cares if you die? Had I known you had this disease, I wouldn't have given you a second glance. Disgusting. Who knows what germs you're carrying?" Jessica tried to speak, but Leo shoved her aside and sped off in his sports car. She vanished from her sight. Left with no choice, Jessica had to sell her car and start hospitalized chemotherapy. Yet when she suffered immense pain, losing clumps of hair and vomiting constantly, even her mother who had been caring for her could endure no more. From each parent taking turns daily, it dwindled to them visiting just twice weekly with visible disdain, until eventually they stopped coming altogether. After Jessica fainted again, she awoke to find herself curled up in a corner of the hospital. The passing nurse frowned and asked her, "Where's your family? Why isn't anyone looking after you? Do you have any idea you almost died?" Jessica called her mother in shock afterward, only to find her phone switched off. Frantic, she started calling everyone, only to finally discover her parents had blocked her while posting on social media. Traveling around spending money, Jessica finally broke down completely. Her heart already deadened. She finally couldn't help but call me. But the voice that answered was a woman's. "Who are you looking for?" Jessica's face instantly darkened. "Who are you?" "I'm looking for my husband, Ethan." There was a momentary pause on the other end. "Ethan." The person who answered was Daisy, their daughter's kindergarten teacher. Jessica instantly recognized her voice and collapsed. "Bitch, where's my husband?" Jessica found me again, looking like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Though autumn had just begun, she was already bundled in a thick sweater. I had just picked up my daughter from school when we spotted Dolly. Jessica's eyes lit up and she rushed over excitedly to embrace her. The daughter dodged in an instant, leaving Jessica frozen in place. She looked at me, her lips trembled, and tears began to fall. "Darling, I didn't know it was me who was sick. So you've done all this for me. I was wrong. Please, can you ever forgive me?" Jessica tearfully reminisced about everything we shared in the past. We grew up together, appearing in each other's lives since we were 10 years old. On the day of our high school graduation at 18, I officially confessed my love to her, and we walked hand in hand all the way through university until graduation. From starting with nothing to moving into a villa, a mansion. No matter how tough times got, I never let her suffer even a little hardship. After becoming wealthy, the temptations around her grew increasingly numerous, and she began to waver between fear of loss and hope for gain. So I proactively offered to step down as the company's CEO and give the position to her. Handing over both power and money, I would solely focus on business negotiations and commit to returning home to accompany her every night. I once believed that even if Jessica were to fall ill and pass away, I would never take another wife. Little did I expect that when serious illness struck, she was the one who dumped me first. Ethan, I was wrong. I was confused. Only now do I realize you're the only one who truly loved me. Everyone else just wanted my money. They never cared whether I lived or died. No matter how pitifully Jessica wept, she could no longer stir an ounce of heartache in me. Ever since you brought up divorce that time, I think there's no possibility left for us anymore. Holding Dolly's hand, I told her calmly, now my daughter and I are doing just fine. Seeing teacher Daisy standing not far away, with Jessica still looking at me expectantly, I spoke up. I've already found someone new. In our daily lives, she acts more like Dolly's mother than you ever did. Jessica's face twisted in disgust. You mean Daisy? What right does she have? She's just a useless kindergarten teacher. At this point, I could no longer contain my fury. You ask what right she has? While you neglected your duty to pick up our daughter, too busy dating your assistant Leo, and while I was out working, it was Daisy who took care of Dolly and fed her meals. Dolly has a fever, but you didn't come home until the dead of night. It was her who took our daughter for the shot. I only learned about all this later. Jessica still wanted to say something, but I refused to listen further. I drove away with our daughter and Daisy. Back then, Jessica and I supported each other for 10 years. I kept my promise to build a company from scratch so she could live comfortably. To give her a sense of security, I even made her the company's chairwoman. I took on all the dirty and exhausting work myself, pulling all-nighters to secure deals, earning money to give her a better life. But a battle with cancer revealed people's true colors. She changed. Yet my daughter remains the apple of my eye. It breaks my heart that she's losing a complete family at such a young age. After the divorce, I worked desperately hard to start from scratch and built a new company again. Now my career is gradually getting on track, and I've also learned to manage my time better, spending more time with my daughter. I can tell Dolly really likes teacher Daisy, so I encouraged their interactions. Little did I expect Jessica still wouldn't give up. They actually came knocking at the door, and it was teacher Daisy who answered it. Smack! No sooner had Jessica barged in than she landed a slap on her. I rushed over and shielded Daisy, and Jessica's eyes instantly reddened. Her lips were deathly pale now, her hands so emaciated they were practically skin and bones. Ethan, forgive me, please, forgive me. I'm going to die soon. I don't want to face this alone in the end. I'm so scared. You can't be with her. We promised to cling to each other for survival. You said you'd stay with me forever. How could you break your word? The more she spoke, the colder my heart grew. These were words only I remembered. I sneered at her. So you remember after all? Her eyes lit up as she nodded eagerly. I remember everything. Then why didn't you think to stay with me till the end when you believed I was the one who was sick? You said cancer was a bottomless pit, told me to let you go. Now it's your turn to come, and you should let me go. Jessica took 2 steps back, her whole body swaying unsteadily. That's not it. That's not what I meant. She tried to explain something more, but I slammed the door shut, completely shutting her out. No one opened the door when Jessica came knocking again. Her money quickly ran out, unable to cover the exorbitant costs. By the second month, she could no longer afford chemotherapy and had no choice but to sue her assistant Leo for stealing her money. Leo couldn't repay the $200,000 fortune, so he ended up in jail. When Jessica was terminally ill, her parents finally returned. They merely fought madly to seize her RV, taking away her last remaining savings to give to their nephew, hoping he would support them in their old age. Lying on the hospital bed, Jessica watched helplessly as it all unfolded. Furious, she spat out a mouthful of blood. And later, when it came time to pay the bills, her parents never showed up again. With no other choice, the hospital cut off her medication. She staggered away from the hospital, her body racked with illness. That day, a torrential downpour flooded the entire city. Huddled in a corner, Shivering uncontrollably, she kept calling me repeatedly, just as I had called her that night, helpless and terrified. Yet the outcome remained the same. No one answered. By the time her illness reached its terminal stage, no one cared whether she lived or died. Before her death, she remembered how I had desperately tried to save her with all my might. Completely breaking down in regret and sobbing, she chose one late night to kneel at my doorstep. The next morning when I stepped out, I found a crowd had gathered. It turned out, she had passed away. At the doorstep lay a package and a letter. Jessica left a message saying, "Ethan, I regret not cherishing the only person in this world who truly loved me. I'm sorry. If there's a next life, I hope you and our daughter can forgive me." She also hand-knitted a sweater for her daughter. But there's no cure for regret after all. The choices she made can never be undone. I folded the letter, set aside the sweater. She turned around with her daughter and embarked on a new life. The end.